Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the most OP Astarion build for patch 8 of Baldur's Gate 3. This introduces the new Swashbuckler Rogue subclass, which is what we'll be working with in this video. So we're going to start him off as a rogue. Now he does have the charlatan background here, which means that we should build around charisma. So for our stat spread here, something like 16 dexterity and 16 charisma works well with 14 constitution. Now the reason we're going around charisma is because the Swashbuckler Rogue abilities scale off of our charisma, and we can also multi-class by adding in the sword bard and do something pretty cool here, which we'll be breaking down in this video. So we'll start with a stat spread of 16 dex, 14 constitution, and 16 charisma here. At level 2, we get our bonus action abilities to hide, dash, and disengage. So that's nice. At level 3 though, this is when we get to choose our subclass. So we got the Swashbuckler Rogue here, which allows us to do a sneak attack without having to have advantage, as long as we don't have disadvantage on the target, and a +2 to our initiative that scales with our rogue level. We also can make an attack and run away without getting hit by an opportunity attack. But the big benefits from the Swashbuckler actually come at the next level. At level 4, we get our bonus action dirty trick, Flicker the Wrist. So this is a little flicker weapon at the target, possibly disarming them as a bonus action. And we also got the Vicious Mockery cantrip as a bonus action, which gives disadvantage on the target's next attack roll. And the Sand Toss, which can possibly blind your target, which will also give them disadvantage on attack rolls. This is really nice. And we also get another feat. Now, I'd actually recommend adding to our charisma. If you're early in the game going through leveling, add it to your dexterity, but we're going to go to charisma here, and you'll see why. And now at level 5, I think it's best to actually at this point add in the sword bard. Now, again, if you're starting from level 1, Sword Bard is probably the better one to go with because it's just powerful throughout the entire game. We're going to take Vicious Mockery and Mage Hand or Minor Illusion. Mage Hand is nice because you can use it to throw potions to heal yourself or set up water and a bunch of other things. And now for our spells here, I think it's good to have the Healing Word and also the Thunder Wave. If you can push someone off of a cliff, that's really nice. Dissonant Whispers, a nice spell to have. And Long Strider for the increased movement speed. Once we get through the sword bar, we actually get some pretty big buffs. We have the Song of Rest, a free short rest basically, and we just choose another spell, which we could even Disguise Self kind of makes sense, or Fairy Fire. For actions, we're going to be using our spell slots for something different. At level 3, we get ourselves our subclass, and we're going to take the College of Swords, which gives us a Slashing Flourish, which lets us hit 2 targets at once. Or we can also do the Slashing Flourish range, which allows us to shoot the same target twice with a bow. We get access to level 2 spells, with Hold Person being good. Invisibility, however, fits thematically for a rogue, turning invisible, stealthy, you know, so that could be a good choice as well, but we're going to go with the Hold Person there. And for the fighting style, this depends if you want to use a shield or if you want to use 2 weapons. We're going to go with the 2-weapon fighting version of that as dual wielding. Pretty nice, even though we don't use our bonus action that much. You can use a weapon that's going to give you increased critical hit damage like Dolar Amaris, which is nice to have. Now at level 4, we get ourselves another cantrip, so Minor Illusion could be a good choice. For the spells, this is when we can take invisibility, or if you like Cloud of Daggers, because it just automatically does damage, no check. And for our feat, at this point, we're going to max our charisma. So there we go, 20 charisma. And into level 5, we get ourselves the Font of Inspiration, giving us our Bardic Inspiration back on a short rest, so we can do more flourishes. And we get access to level 3 spells. Fear being a nice one. Plant Growth is great for crowd control without requiring concentration. Glyph of Warding can also be a useful one, but we're going to go with the Fear spell here, and pretty good. We got a decision to make after this level. So at level 6, we have Counter Charm, but the big thing being the extra attack. So we can now do 2 attacks and hit 2 targets each. So it's 4 basically attacks on the enemy, which is really good. We'll go with Glyph of Warding or Plant Growth. If you want, you can take Blindness too. But I think the Glyph of Warding is nice. So you can set this up as like a trap, and it makes sense for a rogue to have traps. Now, we got 10 levels already. So for the final 2 levels, there's 2 ways we can go about doing this. This is why I wanted to leave this to the end. I like the Paladin. It doesn't fit perfectly thematically, but you can do Slashing Flourishes, attack 2 targets, and apply Divine Smite to both of them by using Divine Smite as a reaction. So what that means is you can actually smite 4 times per turn with this. It's pretty crazy. And what we're going to go with, that is one option, is the Warlock. Now, the Warlock brings a lot to the table because of the Hexblade Warlock, which allows us to bind our Hex weapon, adding charisma scaling to our weapon. We also get the Hexblade's Curse. It's nice. You can increase the amount of damage that you're dealing, as well as increase your critical hit chance. And we also get to choose between a few really good cantrips. So Eldritch Blast, obviously you know the deal. Eldritch Blast is amazing. But we get Booming Blade here. Divine Smite from the Paladin's nice, but Booming Blade is another nice addition, so we'll take that. And for our spells, we can actually get shield, which is a great spell to have because this can protect us from getting hit. And what's nice about this is we can use our bard spells for this as well. And we can also take Wrathful Smite, but I wouldn't fully recommend it. It's not really that great of a spell. Hex is okay too. Hellish Rebuke actually gives us a nice option to return fire at somebody, so we could go with that. Hex, Hellish Rebuke, Wrathful Smite if we really want it, but we're going to get most of our mileage out of some other abilities. And at level 2, this is where it's really good because we can take Devil's Sight. So this actually lets us use arrows of darkness, and then we can hide out in those arrows because we can see in and out of the darkness. The enemies have a hard time with dealing with darkness, so that's really, really useful. Adding our Charisma modifier to Eldritch Blast is also a good choice, but I think that Repelling Blast is better because if you can actually push someone back with Eldritch Blast, sometimes that's a bit more utility than having extra damage on it. So we'll typically be using arrows for attacks, so Eldritch Blast is nice. It's not a need to have. And for our final, I guess Hex is actually a good one because we can use our other spell slots for Hex, so we'll apply that there. Now, where this becomes pretty crazy is with the gear that we'll be going with. All right, so we'll be going with the Mask of Soul Perception for a bonus to attack rolls. Now, another actually really useful item is the Helmet of Arcane Acuity, because this will actually boost up our chances of hitting with our special abilities from the Swashbuckler. So that can be another good choice if you wanted to, and also it's just good to increase your spell save DC for some of the spells that we do have. I like the Mask of Soul Perception for the bonus damage that we get. The Haste Helm early game, started combat, get an extra movement speed, really good to have. And Cloak Protection, just better armor class. But the Deathstalker Mantle, if you're the Dark Urge, is probably the best here because getting free invisibility is super useful. Armor of Agility adds our full dexterity modifier to armor class, giving us a 24 AC, which could be boosted to 25 if we swapped out boots, and even 26 if we went with the Helm of Baldur. So yeah, this actually can be pretty tanky too. I did also debate putting in the Fighter, as the Fighter can give you action surge, which is good to have. But the Armor of Agility gives us a pretty solid armor class. Alternatively, we can also use the Ballast Armor, because with this, we do lose armor class, but where it makes up for is we actually apply vulnerability to piercing damage at close range. Now, mid-game, you'd use like the Adamantine's armor to be able to give yourself a decent armor class. Yuan-Ti, once you get to Act 2. The Wondrous Gloves, though, fit perfectly because this increases our armor class by 1 and gives us another Bardic Inspiration. So it's another Slashing Flourish. Really nice. And then we also get the Disintegrating Nightwalkers here, which makes us so that we get a Misty Step. But you can also swap out and use the Boots of Agility if you, or the Evasive Shoes there for the +1 armor class. Killer Sweetheart, critical hit, Ring of Protection. Now, early game, you could also go with really the Acid Ring, Crusher's Ring, whatever you got best available. Even some of the items like the Arcane Synergy Ring can be pretty useful here, because with that, we deal damage to the cantrip using our Booming Blade, which will then add our Charisma modifier, so +5 to our damage. So this is actually a really good ring as well, and you can get that early on in the game. Ring of Free Action also can be pretty useful, just because we don't have any way to deal outside of the boots. We don't have a lot of ways to deal with difficult terrain. And for weapons, I went Crimson Mischief and the Blade of First Blood there, or Orin's Daggers. They're really useful. However, Dolar Amaris is good too, because this will give us additional 7 damage on critical hits, which turns to 14 because of the Ballast Armor. So that becomes very powerful. You can also use really whatever dagger. The Susur Dagger in the early game is really nice because you can silence on hit, and that's extremely valuable in a variety of different fights. You can even use Fowler Alluve because this is a finesse longsword, so you can sneak attack with this weapon. And the Shrieking Song is really nice. Another really useful early game weapon is the Knife of the Undermountain King, increasing your critical hit chance and also giving you advantage on attacks against lightly or heavily obscured targets. And if we hide out in darkness using a darkness arrow, that gives us a lot of free advantage. So I also like to have the Hellfire hand crossbow when you have Fire Stoker or Near Miss or Near Offhand. So I think that works pretty well. So I'll show you what this looks like when we get to combat. We rolled a great initiative here. So what we were going to start off by doing is getting our sneak attack off. You can only do it on something you don't have disadvantage against. So go to a single target here, and you're going to see the damage is pretty crazy from this. So we can likely take them out. Boom. Good amount of damage, 40 on a single hit plus additional necrotic from the blade. Really effective. And if we find anyone in a grouped up area, unfortunately there's not many here. We can also use our slashing flourishes on them. But then we also got ourselves Booming Blade, which is super useful because we can use this per action. So we can go ahead here with a big Booming Blade, 32, 19, and 7 damage. And then what's great is that used up one of our actions, but we can use Booming Blade again. So you can go ahead with another Booming Blade. And yeah, 28 damage, pretty good. Now, where this becomes pretty cool is we got Slashing Flourishes, which we can use on, not a great hit chance on these, but you can hit both of them. 34 damage because we were close range. That's pretty good for a crossbow. And then we got ourselves a bonus action ability. So you can use the Vicious Mockery on a target, you can use the Sand Toss, or you can use the Flick of the Wrist here so we can disarm this target. And it does pretty good damage. We got Mind Broken there. But the shield spell is super useful because we can use our spell slots to protect ourselves from getting hit with it. So yeah, that's nice too. Anytime that you see two enemies grouped together like this is perfect opportunity for you to get a Slashing Flourish in. So that's what we're going to be rolling with, because Slashing Flourish is just a really good way to get extra damage, as you can hit two targets at once. So we'll go with our Slashing Flourish there. Wasn't enough to finish them off, but this will be. So boom. And we got the critical miss. So Booming Blade to finish him off. I guess I should have saved the Booming Blade for someone else, because yeah, that's quite a bit of damage there. And extra attack, we can't get a sneak attack off, unfortunately, for some reason, but once per turn. And yeah, I'm not sure why we couldn't, so we'll just do a normal attack there and use our bonus action. Should have used the Flick of the Wrist, but yeah, it's pretty good. You also see that our blades are covered in blue from the Arcane Synergy, so that extra +5 from our Charisma modifier to our weapon attack damage. And we got the Hellish Rebukes here, because we got spell slots that we can burn off on them to deal a little extra fire damage. It's not much, but it's something, because we don't have many other reactions. And this worked out a little too perfect. They just lined themselves up for us, so perfect. We can go ahead with our Slashing Flourish again, because that's going to be one of the best uses of our action. Fortunately, misses do happen, so we can try and finish them off there. That was enough to take out both of them, so that was actually perfect. And then this one hiding over here, not for long, we got our Rakish Sneak Attack, so we can use that against the target, and boom. That was enough to finish them off. So yeah, that is a very powerful Astarion build. I was debating between 4 levels of the Rogue Swashbuckler, 6 levels of the Sword Bard, and then 2 levels of Paladin Fighter or the Hexblade Warlock. I think the Hexblade works best building around Charisma, as he's a charlatan, so that works kind of well. I was also considering going with the Gloomstalker Ranger, the Swashbuckler, but I found that this one just worked better due to the Charisma synergy and also being able to use any of the Arcane Synergy weapons to give herself a bonus to her attack rolls. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, hit the subscribe button below if you found this video useful, and I'll see you all in the next video.